Stick with me for a second. I promise this will get somewhere and it's not just me rambling incessantly. Picture you are me. Average height boosted by signature black boots, settling in the back of a classroom on a Friday less than an hour before noon. I have my laptop screen dark to save battery power, Milanote open, and a Starfy sticker staring up at me from below my keyboard. I just read a novel titled Madame Bovary for this class, but my memories are largely vague because of extreme vitamin D deficiency, but that's what supplements are for, baby! Madame Bovary is a novel originally written in French, but it's heralded as a modernist classic in English-speaking countries as well, all being centered around the life of a woman named Emma, the Madame Bovary in question. Everyone in my class hated it, and I didn't love it. It's hard to love a book that didn't exactly linger in your mind, but I'm possibly the one person with anything to say in the protagonist's defense. The rest of the class thinks she's a bitch, and I'm not saying cheating on your husband makes you great, but when the word slut comes around, I sort of have to be on the defensive. To me, this novel is all about perspective. It's written in third-person omniscient, so it can jump around different people's minds, but truly does so rather sparingly, focusing mostly on Emma rather than establishing a conventional cyclical pattern. However, the fact that it bounces around in this manner at all felt rather significant, as there is, in fact, this titular character largely referred to by a name other than that in the title. It genuinely is about perspective, at least in my opinion, and it does Emma a disservice to not give her that small benefit of the doubt. This has been a rather long-winded manner of me addressing the crux of her situation, severe mental illness as a result of patriarchal society's views being the end-all be-all. In criticizing her every move, we play into the narrative that causes her extreme suffering and inherent misinterpretation. Like I said, the book is called Madame Bovary, not Emma. The book approaches the story as others might view her situation, the cheating of a doting husband's wife versus the culmination of mental illnesses turned physical illnesses as a result of romanticism promising more in life than society as it was could offer. I can relate to that feeling a lot. I have severe anxiety, and it manifests in ways that are uncomfortable at best and physically painful at worst. It's something I've been working on for a quarter of my life at this point, and that has led me to develop what I would consider decent interpersonal awareness. That being said, I don't always know right from wrong, and I think there's a lesson to be said about changing and challenging perspectives being fairly important. All of that is to say, I didn't think much about Perfect Night by the Sserafim. I liked it well enough to listen to it every once in a while, but I thought it was a weaker song of theirs since their larger pieces of work felt more substantial. But I wanted to talk about something related to perspective, and scrolled through my liked songs, and there was Perfect Night, and I decided it might be interesting to analyze, as I do many Le Sserafim songs. I didn't realize it would reflect exactly the sentiments that Emma probably needed to hear. I knew it spoke of girl power, and I am nothing if not a sucker for girl power. Wings Club is like my favorite piece of media ever, but Perfect Night provides a perspective we don't hear often, that the destination might be abstract in nature, but it's not just the journey that matters. And if Emma was able to embrace what her life had become before her death, she may have had more time, or at least a better time, while still around. There's quite a bit in this song to talk about, actually, but one of my favorites is the epistemological approach. The epistemological self is the me to be described, and the song starts with the description of me and my girlies, when I would have been technically more appropriate, but we don't want subjects besides the we reminding the reader of how far-reaching a rather simple sense of community can be. There's internal rhyme promoting internal harmony. They specifically tailor the way they describe music to convey it makes traffic bearable, and they even suggest it is able to move the unmovable. They manage to make low language sound lyrical while also emphasizing attempts at a minimalist perspective. They even have a line, "You know nothing else can beat," that seems to implement rhythm into its rhetorical approach. A beat primarily refers to a unit of measurement in music, and as they describe a lack of capability to surpass this perfect night, there's a beat of silence before they continue their sentence in the next line. One of the longer lines plays into the idea of romanticism of the night, but it is still paired with minimalism. Their perfect energy is simple and undemanding. They are able to just exist, and nuance is natural in this pairing's manner. They also repeat we while describing them as flawless and free. They emphasize the collective while talking about qualities they lack that bolster their reputation. Continuing again with the general theme, the post-chorus just starts with tonight, and it makes this out to be both important and an afterthought because this is a post-chorus following the height of the song with this apparent recognition of what part of it matters. And they keep saying don't, as if it's important to know what is not the case. After all, this perfect night they are trying to convey is something abstract, something you can't really describe in any straightforward manner, at least not fully. At the same time, there are little things that maintain an almost cozy feeling. They maintain a sense of community, talking about good company. They also maintain their images, though, talking about their credit card, really just fitting this one night into a broader context. It presents a lesser mentioned concept that perhaps the destination is more important than the journey. They exist night until morning, living in slow motion, and we normally talk about understanding existence in a burdensome manner, but they portray this sense of serenity that people might not even know how to seek for. Emma's romanticism was born from the novels she read, and it's interesting to compare the impact of one medium of art to another. Emma notably poisons herself at the end of the novel, but she does not have the reaction to it that she expects. She thinks it'll be a simple process, that she'll just fade into nothingness at some point, but it is an arduous process over time. She suffers physically in a lot of pain, really intense pain. When you talk about poetry, it's often something people think of more abstractly than novels that tend to assume less stylistic qualities simply because it's harder to maintain something like that in a larger piece. They can be about abstract things, but there's a general formula they follow, the hero's journey or similar patterns of story beats. But the formula of a pop song is just one structure for poetry, one of an infinite number. Within this context, the Sserafim are able to occupy a versatile space that was never really an option for Emma, who felt trapped in a loveless marriage without feelings of joy or meaning in life. I mean, they literally talk about phrenology. If you know anything about psychology is a very young science, but phrenology was some crazy shit they believed in very early on, and there really was no way Emma would ever get the treatment she needed because her case with her mental illnesses, plural, was so severe and not something anyone would know how to address, certainly not in a proper manner. But that's what makes it so clear how we have progressed in many ways, how we have become a society where we can practice healing, and one night might make a real difference to someone.